Hi, Professor Bolt here with Week 7's class video. So this week we're approaching the midterm. Based on the fact that you need a little bit more, I went back and I updated all of the chapters so I added chapter 7, which is in this week's reading. And I updated adding key terms to each of the chapters. So like the important words are there in case you want to use that to help you study for the midterm, which is the very beginning of next week. The midterm, which I'll go through just the practice midterm in a second, but you're going to need to have the lockdown browser with a web camera, monitor, respondus monitor, right? So when you go to do the practice midterm, you have to have that. So if you've never had that on your personal computer, this is remote online. You'll have to go in and install the lockdown browser. Pretty sure it's installed on like the library computers and whatever. It can be somewhat problematic, but you don't have to talk during this, so that's fine. You can use one of those. The two videos for this week are uploaded, and so Chapter 7 is all about teams, teaming, team writing, but it's got some general team stuff in it because you may or may not have been in a teams class yet, so you want to make sure you have all the basics of teams. So let's go ahead and first look at the practice midterm. It's due by Wednesday, October 4th, the end of the day, right? I actually recommend if you start earlier because you just want to make this is to do two things, right? It's going to give you a practice feel for the types of questions that are going to be in there. There's the final midterm will have 50 multiple choice questions, 10 short answer, and 6 short essay. I think the practice has like 10 multiple choice, 5 short answers, and 3 essays or something. You give it not just one, so you get a feel for the kinds of questions I'm likely to be asking. The actual midterm will be open next Sunday, which is the 8th, starting at noon, and then it'll go until Monday. So you have a little more than a 30-hour window-ish to get it done. And I included the weekend because some of you are working during the days. I didn't want to just do it during the daytime hours. So it's about a week from today that you need to be working on this. So on this week, I expect you'll be reading the chapter and then studying. So I didn't have much else in terms of the assignment. If you go to take the quiz and you don't have, this is a student view. First, the quiz, you'll only be able to do this practice quiz and in the midterm, you get to do questions one at a time. You can't go back. You're able to view it. So, and you're not allowed to have any other. You can't have your book open. You can't have, if you have written notes, right? You're not supposed to be doing this. Is a closed book exam. A little more challenging online. You're not allowed to be doing anything with respect to your phone. So if you go to do this, the lockdown browser is going to use your camera to monitor what you're doing. If it sees anything funny and going, then I'll watch the video. So it's going to be recording everything so I can watch if I feel there's any questions about what's going on. Having had students who cheated in previous semesters, I'm a little bit more careful about doing this. I'm going to actually leave the student view because I just wanted to show you that part. Now I'll go back and it won't complain if I'm doing it as me, but I'll just sort of preview, right? So when you go in to do it, you're going to get questions. Multiple choice questions. Right? So the practice quiz is 30 minutes. I want to give you some reasonable estimate. The actual midterm will be 90, so you'll have plenty of time. You should. It's 50 questions this year, quick. So, what type of feedback involves examining response from past communications with similar audiences, right? So that's audience feedback, right? And you get a feel for the questions. You can go through all of them. I'm actually going to reduce the practice quiz. It's a little bit annoying because there's this long intro with the instructions, so you might have to keep scrolling. But I'm not going to go through all that. But you go through the questions, but you don't get to go back, and you don't get to see the advanced questions. So you have to understand where this is going. If you have any questions about the midterm or practice issues, shoot me an email. I can help debug lots of things. So maybe I can help you if you get. But you need to have this installed on your computer or use one of the campus computers that have it. The next assignment, which I've not yet published, but I'll go ahead and publish it. It's just you can't actually. I don't want you to do it because you can't do it until I post some other things. This week, mostly, I expect you to be reading the chapter and then studying. So I didn't want to make too many other assignments. But next week during midterm week, I will start, after the midterm is posted, I'll have some other things. Well, I'll be working on the final project assignment, final team assignments. Um, and so I'll be assigning people for different roles for different projects. You will be on a review team for a project for which you are not an author. I expect that the team will function as an all in parallel with multiple rounds of review, but your team will be able to do things in other structure. If you want to get together on a Zoom call, that's actually great. I think it will be a very effective way of doing things, but I can't control everyone's schedule. Um, Later this week, I'm going to post the description of the potential project. I'm still trying to resolve one or two issues, so I don't want to do them until we get that done. I really wanted to work on the opportunity now, and you've all contributed to that project in some way, and I'm very happy with many of the results I got from that. But that project is due October 18th, which makes it a little rushed for us to try and get things in. If you're interested in working on that as a side piece, you might be able to send me email. We might have a little bit more work where you as an individual could be part of the team working on the final draft, but it's just too rush for class. So I have to go looking for other projects to give us enough time to get everything in. But this assignment, which says October 10th, I'm going to have to change that. It's actually due October 6th. I don't know why I got that wrong. So this is due before the midterm because I want to use this over the weekend to start assigning things. So as soon as the midterm's over, I'll actually be able to have the team assignments out. So in this journal assignment, I want you to, based on this week's reading, so this is about the team stuff, I want you to choose at least 3 roles per project. So there's going to be 3 projects. 3 roles per project where you are best suited, and at least 1 role where you think you would be the weakest or least comfortable. So I want you to analyze the different roles that can be as part of a team based on the reading and the videos from this week. And then I want you to include a 1 to 3 sentence justification for each of those roles for why you think you're either going to be good at this or not good at this. And to be clear, that means there's 12 things. Many of you keep missing things by not going through how much is there. So that's 12 1 to 3 sentence descriptions of the role, what you think why you would be good or bad at it. And then there's going to be a rank ordered list where you're going to have 12 lines with with 5 items per line. So this is really a ranked list of things of the form name, comma, project, comma, role, comma, priority, comma, MBTI. I don't want to just use the 12 as an implicit order because it might be 2 things that are really close. So the priority, which is one of those items, is a score of 100 means that's your highest priority. You really care. You can have 2 that are equal at 100, in which case 1 and 2 is ordering, doesn't matter. And the lowest priority one means you really want to avoid that role as much as possible. Given that you have to have 3 roles where you don't think you're going to be good, you can say you want to avoid those roles. You can say you want to take on a weak role. I'm not telling you what you want to have, what kind of role you want to grow. That's fine. I will be considering priority when I go to make assignments, but there's no assurances that you don't get assigned to one because everybody's got to get assigned to different things. You will be assigned on 2 different teams. So some of them will be reviewing, some of them will be writing or contributing or whatever. We'll figure out exactly what those roles are. Once you're assigned on a team, your role is not fixed unless I assign you the role of a project lead, in which case you can still change, or your team can get together and vote and say, yeah, no, we're going to have somebody else as their team lead, but I'm going to make sure at least every team is assigned 1 person as their team lead. We might end up with, even though I'm expecting there's going to be 3 projects, there could only be 2. If one of them doesn't work out, I have to make sure we can make this work. But there'll be 3 descriptions. We may actually not do all 3 teams, depending on one of the projects having to have a partner. But we might actually have 2 competing teams for the same project, just because I don't want the teams to be too big. So we'll see if there's going to be really 3, then I think we can make it with 21 people in the class. That's 7, which is a little big, but maybe we can make that work. We might have one of the projects have 2 competing teams and the rest have individuals. So this assignment is, forget what's on the screen here. I'll go edit it right now before I forget. Let's go down. I don't know why I got off to next week. Let's do the 6th. Oh, I know, because by the 10th is when I wanted to actually make the team assignments happen. So I was thinking about that and clicked on the wrong day. So this will, and then I will actually set up in Canvas the teams and everything so that by next week we'll be ready to start rocking and rolling and actually working on the proposal aspects we're going to do. So that's it for this week. Again, practice midterm. The midterm is October 8th through noon, October 8th through the 10 p.m. on October 9th. Find some time in that. You're going to have 90 minutes unless you're a student with disabilities and you have extra time. You're going to have to block that time out. Once you start, the clock ticks. You don't get to do it twice. You don't get to go back for questions. Again, closed book, closed notes, right? So there's a bunch of things to remember. There's both logical stuff about stories and storytelling. You'll see many of the example questions, but there's also just a good bit of terminology. You have to know what some of these things are so that you can take part in them in conversations. I will be trying to avoid very Terry-specific terminology, but that doesn't mean I won't creep one or two in. The questions will have some questions that are really, really easy and some questions that are much more subtle because I use a distribution of questions to give you an overall expected curve from what I'm doing. And then this will be weighted, so the midterm will be curved and weighted after I'll explain that after I've done the grading. So if you get a lower score on the exam, it's hard for me to know. It's the first time I'm doing this, how many questions are easy and how many questions are hard. I have an expectation, but I can be wrong, and so that expectation might end up in me changing the scoring. So whatever your score on the exam is next week, don't freak out about it. We'll be using some level of curving. I have no problem with everyone doing very well. If everyone does very badly, that means I messed up in estimating where the curve is, and I will adjust the things accordingly. So that's this week's video for the class. Again, Chapter 7 is about teams and teaming structures. If you think you understand teaming, you still have to read the chapter because there's a whole lot here about writing, personality types, review levels. So you've probably, even if you've been on effective teams, still need to go through this chapter to go through it. And again, I've updated the book with key terms to go through, helping you as a study guide for each of the chapters. So if you have a PDF and you want to update it, just update that with all the key terms for each of the chapters. Okay. Again, if you have any problems with respondents, reach out to me. Maybe I can help you.